The way we interact with transportation from one place to another is about to change forever. Over the past decades, our world has undergone life-changing transformations with modern facilities, but this recent invention takes the cake. It is a smart propeller that exhibits masterclass science and technology at its finest. What does this genius propeller do, and how would it change transport forever? Join us as we explore how this genius propeller will change transport forever. Devised for the first time by Archimedes in 200 BC, propellers are mechanical devices that comprise multiple blades which rotate at high speed to enable a water vehicle or aircraft to cover a particular distance from one place to another. They are built to take fluid, generally air or water, and use a rotating motion to push that fluid through. They are evolutions from Archimedes' screw, which was likely used in ancient Egypt thousands of years before Archimedes described it in 234 BCE. Humans have been using these engines for centuries, upgrading the machine to be more efficient and durable with each era. This change continued over the last 100 years as several technological institutions and companies have modified and tested new iterations. And one of these replications of the propeller is known as a toroidal propeller, and it has the potential to transform both marine and aerial sectors, especially when it comes to the performance of boats and drones. One major problem that is well known with multi-copter props is their upsetting noise. These are often whiny sounds because much of them stay in the same frequency range as a baby's cries. Humans tend to be the most sensitive to 5 kHz and 100 Hz sounds. This makes evolutionary sense as it's where we listen to vowel sounds that are crucial to verbal communication. But it's a vital issue if multicopters will fulfill their potential and fill our skies with fast, cheap, clean aerial delivery services. Lawmakers and residents wanted to steer clear of adding more of these annoying noises to urban life, so work had to be done to find a solution. In a bid to make these propellers more modern and work well in several industries, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Lincoln Laboratory and US-based company Sharrow Marine stepped out of their comfort zones. They took two of the traditional rotor's most challenging features, which are the whining buzz and outdated efficiency, and went on to design a different version. This version turned out to be a twisted, toroid-shaped propeller that reduces noise while enhancing performance without energy waste. It all began when the MIT's Lincoln Laboratory team worked on a silent ion-propelled plane. As they worked, they pondered whether prop noise in multi-rotors could be alleviated if the propellers were shaped differently. Dr. Thomas Sebastian, a senior at Lincoln Labs Structural and Thermal Fluids Engineering Group staff member, talked about the process. Propellers, as we know, are pretty loud, and we can look at wings to see how that works. Back when people were coming up with all kinds of crazy ideas for airplanes in the early 1900s and during World War II, a couple of designs were basically these ring wings. So I wondered what it would look like if you took a ring wing and turned something like that into a propeller. After these came to Sebastian's head, he came up with the concept of using a toroidal shape, also known as an annular wing shape, to hopefully make a quieter propeller. So Sebastian and his intern worked with the idea and devised a bunch of iterations using 3D printers. Within a few attempts, the team found a design that reduced overall noise levels at a given thrust level, and especially noise in the 1 to 5,000 kHz range. The outcome was a machine that sounded more like a rushing breeze than a propeller, making a much less intrusive sound. Anecdotally, according to the team, a drone running these props makes a level of sound roughly as annoying as a regular drone about twice as far away. Have a listen. The key thing that we thought was making the propellers quieter was the fact that you're now distributing the vortices that are being generated by the propeller across the whole shape of it instead of just at the tip, says Sebastian, which then makes it effectively dissipate faster in the atmosphere. That vortex doesn't propagate as fast, you're less likely to hear it. Now, propeller noise can be addressed by placing rings of acoustic treatment around the circumference of a prop's path, which can also act as prop guards from a safety perspective. But these add parasitic mass, reducing battery life, and they can also catch the wind outdoors, making the drone work harder to stay stable. The team of researchers studied these bizarre-looking toroidal props to see if there would be a thrust efficiency penalty, but there was none. The team's best-performing B160 design was quieter to given thrust level than the best standard propeller they tested. Still, it also emitted more thrust at a given power level, pretty remarkable despite regular props having over a century of development behind them. And also, these toroids are at a very early stage with plenty of optimization yet to come. Moreover, their looped shape adds structural stability and reduces the possibility of a prop cutting, clipping, or catching on things it runs into. Now, you're still not going to want them to be hitting you in the face, but there's likely a marginal safety improvement there. Now, regarding drawbacks, these are relatively complex shapes, so they're much more complicated to produce than regular props using cheap and easy injection molding. They're probably the sort of thing you need to get 3D printed. But even if they increase or triple propeller prices, these are a low-cost part of a drone, and the overall impact might be relatively easy on the hip pocket. At this stage, it's still being determined if these designs would be relevant at a larger scale, replacing traditional propellers on a fixed-wing aircraft or indeed on electric VTOL air taxis. The latter already appear to be significantly quieter than helicopters. Still, if they flood the urban airspace with fast, cheap, green aerial transport, every noise decibel will count regarding public and regulatory resistance. The question is what type of frequencies these larger props will possess in the audio spectrum, and if the toroidal props shift the sound in a human-friendly direction. Although the team patented this propeller design, whether it will be commercialized is still unclear. Still, MIT appears to be prepared to license it to interested manufacturers. Now, drones and aviation are one thing, but aerodynamics and hydrodynamics are closely related, and there's already a product close to fruition in the marine space that has a similar approach, which is being brought about by the US-based Sharrow Marine. Sharrow Marine has been getting spectacular results from boat propellers using toroidal loops instead of standard blades. After several years of redesigning, the company tested its props against hundreds of standard propellers, and the difference is remarkable. Sharrow's props simply don't create tip vortices. It is a significant source of energy loss and a surprisingly large component in the overall noise of an outboard engine. Sharrow's props largely reduce the amount of fluid that slips out the sides of a propeller instead of being pushed through. As a result, the toroidal props suck more water through and advance a boat further per turn. They regularly double the speed a boat can achieve at lower and mid-range RPMs, radically broadening the effective rev range of the motor. And they reduce fuel consumption by around 20%, a huge deal given the massive energy requirements of propeller-driven boats and the industry's scale. And Sharrow says that they have the exciting effect of massively reducing a boat's tendency to pitch backward as it accelerates. Instead, the entire boat comes out of the water while it remains level. And while all of this happens, the noise effect is profound, as heard here. Furthermore, the company also assures that this is a propeller you can stick on more or less any outboard motor, then blast along at 48 km per hour quietly enough to have a conversation on board without raising your voice. That's some incredible stuff. Sharrow is already selling its toroidal props CNC machine to fit a wide range of standard outboard motors from most major manufacturers. The drawback is the price. They cost $4,999 a pop, regardless of which model, whereas a standard propeller might be closer to just $500. Still, this is a pretty small feature in the overall cost of several boats, and based on their gluttonous appetite for fuel, the outlay may well pay for itself in short order, as well as making the ride more conducive for the bystanders, the people on board, and even marine life under the surface. And in the age of the energy transition, these things must also be of incredible interest to anyone making electrified boats, where a 20% boost in the range from a $5,000 accessory would be an absolute no-brainer. However, some people are concerned about the safety of this genius propeller. Toroidal propellers could be safer if they're built with curved edges. This would help reduce the risk of lacerations. However, their primary selling point seems to be the low-pitched prop noise they emit. Now, regarding efficiency, the toroidal propellers tested so far have shown a significant decrease in flight time and performance compared to traditional propellers, with the drone only achieving less than 50% of its initial flight time. This loss in efficiency raises questions about the value of trading stability and efficiency for noise reduction. So while toroidal propellers may be quieter in the demonstration by the MIT researchers, questions remain about their efficiency. The MIT team notes that the toroidal propeller achieves thrust comparable to a multi-rotor drone propeller. Still, the FPV community is debating whether this design could reduce the propeller's thrust and increase drag, impacting overall efficiency. Further testing will be needed to figure out the trade-offs between efficiency and noise reduction for this genius propeller design. However, these propeller designs are also being eyed currently by the FPV community, as leading FPV drone propeller manufacturers Gemfan and HQ Props are already developing their own versions of toroidal propellers, and their designs are undergoing testing. Overall, the toroidal propeller design represents an exciting new development in propeller design and can be a game changer for specific applications where noise reduction is a top priority. It is a design that can break bounds if successful and bring a new era to transportation. What do you think about this genius propeller though? Is it a good invention or not? Let us know in the comments section below.